Hey everyone, this is Firewatch from Campo Santo. It's their first game. It's a walk-around game. I like that term. It's a game about exploring a world, having conversations, looking at things, doing a couple, I wouldn't really call them puzzles, just actions in the world that get you further into the game. It's sort of like an adventure game, but without the arbitrary like puzzles, or you're not having to combine many items. Even there are a few things you do have to like open with a key or something. This intro is really important to the game. I'm gonna talk over it. You can read it though. It's all text and then then it cuts to gameplay moments where you're making your way as the main character Henry to his fire lookout job in the Wyoming wilderness. It's something that I don't think they ever showed in any kind of like pre-release material, but it really is important for how you interpret Henry as a character and his relationship with this woman he dates, or well, then he eventually gets married to. Slight spoilers here, but named Julia. And the beginning here just pretty much is sort of a tutorial and getting you used to how to play the game, how to pick things up. The fact that you can like zoom in on the parts of the environment and read things like the map and signage. A lot of it is pretty blunt in this intro. There's a lot of choices like this, like choosing the dog, and then you get a little bit of text to explain how your choice kind of plays out, and then you just moves on. And sometimes it doesn't always give you choices. Sometimes it's just like a question here. It's not always about making some big dramatic choice. Not that a dog is a big dramatic choice, but you know what I mean. This game isn't really about making big choices. The writer of the game worked on The Walking Dead Season 1, and that game has a lot of really big moments where people's lives depend on what you choose. This game is definitely, the stakes aren't that high, but I do think that there is an importance to what you do as Henry and the dialogue choices you make later. They don't necessarily like change anything, but I also think that some of that, the concept of like dialogue choices changing the whole progression of a narrative in a game seems like a weird thing, because I don't think that just seems like an impossible thing to design a game that completely changes based on choices. I think the change is a lot more small scale. It's more about like how you see the characters and how you feel like they would feel, especially in Firewatch. Firewatch is a game that is mostly about an authored character. Henry is somebody who, no matter what, is regretful of his past. In this beginning intro here, I'm pretty sure like I was guarded about it throughout the game because this is not my first time playing it. But no matter what, he was always sort of hesitant to talk about what happens in these opening moments. Or these opening moments take place over several years, so it's really just on his like past when it's the present day in the game. These moments are important for setting up who Henry is and helping you understand sort of how he might react to things that happen later in the game. Because I think if you didn't have this intro, you'd spend a lot of time figuring out who he is by what he's saying, and it would probably just make it tough to, like, as a player, to figure out how you want to, like, who Henry is. I think it's really just important to know who Henry is up front, and I really like this intro, especially since it's really pretty. I mean, the game's really pretty, so it's really nice to just see all these kind of orange colors and the color of the Wyoming wilderness inside of the games, like a lot of oranges and bright greens and just really good art design going on here. So it's like a really good tonal piece to sort of get you used to how the game is going to look and feel. And a lot of games do this. There's a lot of tutorials that do the same thing, but I like how Firewatch does it so upfront and just matter of fact in a lot of ways. Like, a lot of these text things are just telling you what's happening. Like, you have no control over some of the things that, I mean, you literally don't have control over things that happen, but I mean, like, it's just presented in a way that is, it's sad, but it's also like matter of fact in the way that you just have to accept, like, it's sad, but you can move on. Like, the game, that the game hasn't happened yet. There's more to explore. This is just the beginning. It hit me pretty hard the first time I played it, because I really wasn't expecting such a melancholy opening. There's still definitely some humor like this, but it's, humor that I think works extra well because the character Henry is more established than just some blank sheet at the beginning of a game. It's not like a nobody that you're hearing, hilarious jokes from. It's more like, oh yeah, this guy, like, he is a person to me. Like, he's a person that has feelings that I've, seen in the intro. I think that really comes through in the first day on the job as a fire lookout. Yeah, there's a lot of humor in it, and I think this game nails that because you understand who Henry is. There's a lot of games that do humor, but it's on a meta level in a way where it's like poking fun at video games, as a medium or something. And this game does have some of that. There are some definitely some jokes that are, making fun of weird things. Like if you listen to the Idle Thumbs podcast, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. And this game does some of that, but a lot of the humor is coming straight from the characters. And I mean that in like a sense that the characters, the way you understand them, it makes sense for them to say the jokes or whatever that they're saying, which is maybe a boring way to describe the comedy in this game, because it's more funny if it just naturally comes out. But I think it comes out natural. It feels natural because you understand who the characters are really quickly. The character that's coming up soon, Delilah, which is like the main character you're going to be talking to throughout the whole game, she is you definitely learn more about her throughout the game as it moves on, but up front, I mean, you get a really vulnerable moment from her, just like you got a vulnerable moment from Henry in the beginning. So I think this is the first moment that you see the watchtower that you'll be spending most of your time on, or at least you'll be spending the beginning of every day on, because this game takes place over several days. We learned right through that intro, if you missed it, that Julia, Henry's wife, has a dementia, and he struggled. I chose, I think, to try to take care of her on my own, but it was really hard. And, Henry struggles with sort of his own identity, having to deal with, this illness and not, kind of losing somebody he loved in a way, or just sort of feeling like he doesn't know her anymore. So he's trying to get away in this new job. And this opening moment, I'm going to try my best not to talk over some of the dialogue. But Delilah's calling him. This is his first night before his first day. And I don't talk. I thought maybe I was going to reply to her. So this is going to be a lot of me guessing of when I replied to her. But this beginning moment, you can choose when to talk to her. It'll be a main mechanic for bringing out the walkie-talkie and speaking to her. Here we go.
Hello? Whoever this is?
It's Henry, right?
Yeah.
I'm Delilah.
Yeah, that's what the guy said on the phone.
So, what's wrong with you?
Excuse me?
People take this job to get away from something. So what's wrong?
What's wrong with you?
That's a great idea. Go ahead.
Look, I just hiked for 2 days, so I don't really follow whatever it is you're doing right now.
You take a stab at what's wrong with me.
Fine, then can I sleep forever?
Sure, buddy. Okay, now go ahead.
Okay, you've killed 3 husbands. You're a black widow, and you're just out here until the heat dies down, and then you'll kill again.
Ooh, very good. Bravo, Henry.
Okay, I sleep now?
Not quite. Now you.
Okay, good night, bye.
Let's see. I don't know anything about you, but maybe you just really like trees. Maybe it's a borderline fetish. A tree fetish.
Good night.
Good night. Welcome to the job. Good morning, Henry. Well, I guess good afternoon. You probably slept like a rock. Anyway, there's still a few hours of daylight to get some work in. I can see you at your desk, so call me when you're ready.
So you can see what I mean by that intro being important for Delilah too. As well as Henry, is because you get a little bit of a moment where it's kind of strange, like, why is she asking you this weird question? And it's like I said, it's a vulnerable moment. You'll learn why that is later in the next episode, actually. But it's a moment that's kind of off-putting, maybe not off-putting, but just uneasiness a little bit. Like, why is my boss talking to me about like what's wrong with me? That's a strange thing to bring up on the first day. And I guess it's a theme in this game. It's just, strange things that kind of happen that maybe turn out to be not so strange. And that is, the first moment. And I think that's a really good opener because it's not just the boring, like, let me just give you an objective. It's like, no, let's have you actually say something, especially since it's right from the intro, which that there's something that Henry could answer when she says, like, what's wrong with you, but you don't answer. And you get more opportunities later on. I mean, that's kind of one of the things about your relationship with Delilah is prodding about, like, both of your pasts.
Hey, sorry, guess I slept in.
You got a relaxing, 14 hours of sleep? Woo!
Yeah, Jesus, I guess it's 6?
6:45.
Whoops.
Don't worry about it. That hike puts everyone out of commission for a day or two. But now that you're up, let me quickly get you acquainted with the job. There's a thing in the middle of your room with a round map on it. Do you see it?
Getting you set up with being able to ask Delilah about objects.
This is the Osborne Firefinder, invented in 1914 by W.B.
Osborne?
You use this to spot, you guessed it, What the fuck?
What is it?
Nothing. You use this to... Oh, fuck me!
Good God, language, lady.
Out your west-facing window. Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Whoa, that's not legal.
It's not always objects.
No. You need to get down there right now and stop them. Fire danger is through the fucking roof.
Is that really my job?
Your job is whatever I say it is. Look, the closest ranger is like 2 days away. Go down there and set him straight.
Like, kick the shit out of him sort of straight?
No. Jesus, no.
What? I'm not a cop. It's not like I've got a rule book over here.
Just make sure they don't do it again. Take their shit.
All right, fine.
Don't feed anyone a knuckle sandwich. Get going. You'll probably need a rope to get down the shale between you and the lake, if I remember right. There should be one in the supply box on the way. The code is 1234. It's actually that for all of them.
So in the next episode, we'll talk more about these characters and how they establish the narrative through the dialogue, and we'll see who's setting off those fireworks, because, I mean, somebody's doing something bad. You can't have fire in the wilderness.